If you guys don't know, this is Crypto and Assets, a call that myself and my brother John Luke have been doing for the last couple of weeks every single Saturday. And the vision here is yes, we're talking about plays. Yes, we talk about, a price action and where things are going. But the biggest thing about these calls is actually getting back end education information that helps you really understand crypto as a whole, projects, where things are going and why are they even happening. Because we live in a world where right now a lot of people talk about price and where things are at. But the most important thing is really the back end of it, because at the end of the day, it's about really understanding how things work so that you can maximize on where things are going. Okay. So let me know in the chat box, put a 7 in the chat if you've been a part of our crypto and assets call before. Put a 5 in the chat if you've never been a part of our crypto and assets call. So I have more of an understanding. But today we have an amazing curriculum that we're going to be able to go through and talking about projects. But if you guys don't know me, my name is Jesus Gill, 27 years young, out here in Dallas, Texas. I first started crypto back in 2021. And it's been amazing. Myself and my brother, John Luke, we've been through the ups, we've been through the downs, we've learned a lot, we've gained a lot, but then we lost some, right? We've been able to really understand, some things, and we're still learning. We're still students of the games. We haven't, there's no such thing as, being an expertise at everything or a master of everything. It comes down to only the growth of it. So, like I said, it's not just going to be myself. It's going to be my brother, John Luke, who's been able to do amazing things in this space. He's been on different ends when it comes to crypto, like, what we do here. Then he's like on the back end, the corporate side. So a lot of exciting things, that a lot of perspective as well that you're going to be getting on today's call. Okay. But before we get things going, kind of what's going to look like on today's call is number one, we're going to start with obviously what's going on in crypto, one of our favorite segments on these calls. And then as you see, we literally just have projects lined up here. Okay. We got some projects lined up here that we're going to go in depth on the breaking it down. Then we're going to show price action. We're going to really help you guys understand on why these are good projects. And I'm letting you guys know this now. This is not us saying that we're only in these projects or these are the only projects that we're investing in. That's not at all. We literally just picked a couple that we've been looking at. There's a couple more that are not on this list, but we wanted to also really show you guys what it kind of looks like on what you're looking into and why you should be looking at certain projects in certain ways. But at the same time, also look at the opportunities on the charts. Okay. So, like I said, I'm not saying to only invest in these projects. This is not like financial advice. This is education based so that we can help you guys understand on how to maximize really this experience when it comes to crypto, right? So the first thing is what's going on in crypto. Put what's going on, or WGO. Maybe we can use that little abbreviation, right? What's going on in crypto? So let me know in the chat box if you guys want to know what's going on, or you guys have been seeing what's going on. WGO. We're gonna make that a thing. WGO. There's been an insane amount of things going on literally in crypto this week, or really just the markets as a whole. There's a couple things, but number one is USD stablecoin user Circle. If you guys know Circle, put a 1 in the chat. But Circle went public with a successful IPO, opened at 69. IPO was at 31 and then climbed to 103. This is wild. When I first, John Luke put this on here, and I was like, I didn't even know that happened. I was like, he's my kind of news guy at this point. But I was like, that's wild. Like, USDC, guys, is a stable coin. And if you guys don't know this, stable coins are going to be the biggest thing in crypto. They're going to be the one that's going to be the most used, the most regulated. That is what's going to bring adoption. In my opinion, from what I see, stable coins is key, which I wouldn't have not even thought about that not too long ago. But now that they've gone public in the stock market is wild, because now you have another crypto, exposure place where you can come in and be a part of crypto, but being in the stock market, right? Which is super, super huge. Now, what I'm going to do as well, obviously, as I'm going to do these, I'm going to bring up my brother, John Luke, to talk about a couple of these, but I wanted to start just what things are going on so we can get things kind of going. But like I said, guys, I'm not doing this by myself, right? It might seem like it now, but I'm not. My brother, John Luke, is somebody that I've been knowing for many, many years. We were brothers. We've been able to start this journey together. And he's been able to help hundreds of individuals in person, online, on really the understanding of this at the highest level possible. So, John Luke, brother, I'll have you come on, talk about maybe if you want the first one, and then kind of go in through the other one and what's going on in crypto.
Yeah, for sure, bro, for sure. I'm not gonna lie, I was meant to send that message to you, not to the whole group chat. But either way, Nah, I'm happy to run it with you, bro. Yeah, I just got too excited, so I was like, yeah, I need to put it out there. But yeah, no, appreciate everybody hopping on. And yeah, we like to start off with like the weekly news and things. So, me and Gil kind of be going back and forth on that. And just like what Gil mentioned about USDC, it's one of the largest stable coins. You have USDC, you have USDT, you have DAI, which is DAI, and you have a few others out there, BUSD. And so different stable coins have different structures and have different companies backing them. And so with USDC, Circle is the one that backs them. With Binance, with BUSD, Binance is a centralized exchange that backs that stable coin. And what we like with USDC compared to USDT is that it's slightly more decentralized, so we say, in terms of ownership compared to USDT. USDT is used a lot in Asia specifically. And an IPO, guys, for those of you who don't know, it's just an initial public offering. So it's basically if you want to get a stock listed on the public exchange, you have to do an IPO for that to launch. So the fact that it went up about 70 to 80% from the opening price is a huge deal. It just shows that there's a lot of institutional money and demand to get involved in these stable coins, because you have to remember a lot of traditional financial institutions, they want to be in crypto, but they want to just be 50-50. They want to be partially in it and then partially in the system. So having an IPO means that they can get involved in a stock, which is more what they're used to, rather than getting involved in crypto because the regulations may not allow them to. So that's the benefit of them IPOing. And then, yeah, I guess the second one, Gil.
Yeah, for sure. That's an amazing breakdown. Now, the second one that you guys see here, like, let me know in the chat box. Put maybe a five in the chat if you saw the Bitcoin drop in the markets this week compared to last week, right? We're like, hitting all-time highs, and it's interesting because people have so much emotion in markets. But me and John, we talk about all the time how like numb we are at this point. Like we're like, yeah, like all right, cool. Like, we're gonna keep kind of looking forward. And we understand why these things are even happening in the first place. Which is super, super, super important. So Bitcoin dropped to 101,000. 988 million have been liquidated from the market, and 888 were long positions, guys. A lot of interesting things happened in the market that I believe was supposed to happen, like going on to the third one. I don't know if you guys have seen what's kind of going on, but put any number in the chat, or maybe just a yes or a no if you've been able to see what happened with the whole Trump and Elon Musk thing. That is something that a lot of people were talking about this week. And one thing that I was very certain on is, again, everybody, I'm not going to go into it too crazy, right? Because we can be here all day talking about it. But it did plummet the Tesla's stock market by 14%. I personally believe that's just another market move. I'm going to be honest. That's just it. I mean, yeah, like these things are, in my opinion, are market movers. Tesla, this is another opportunity for investors to get into Tesla. I know obviously people lost money, but it also builds opportunity. It also tanked a lot of other markets. But then, even like the industry market, right? It came down and then it's now high again. So it really just manipulated, in my opinion. But obviously there's a lot of things going on there, which for me is kind of more obvious than ever before. But just understand that this is why, it's important to be educated on what's going on in the markets, so that you can capitalize literally on opportunities that happen just like this, right? But it's wild to see Tesla go down by 14%. But it does bring opportunity as well when it comes to that. Tesla's been at a high for a very long time. So seeing lower prices, it's quote unquote is opportunity. But we'll see what happens and what fuels up. And who knows, this can create something bigger, which can affect the markets, right? Everything affects the markets, guys. When it comes to things like that out there in the politic world, it affects the market because the sentiment of people, and people are very emotional, right? And then we also have new ETFs filing from ADA, LTC, which is Litecoin, and also Doge, which is insane. And then Gemini files to go public, guys. These are all things that are going on and happening in crypto. I don't know if John Luke, you want to add to anything that I just kind of broke down, and we'll continue going.
Yeah. The last biggest single day drop that Tesla had was in September 2020, and that was in basically COVID times. And so, I remember actually Tesla was the first experience to the financial markets I ever had, because I first invested in Tesla in 2020 COVID, and it was just before they had a stock split, like a 5-for-1 stock split. So basically, let's say there was a $1,000, let's say the share price of Tesla was $1,000. They then split it 5 ways, where like now the share price was $200, so it's more affordable for everybody. And so that was really my first experience. But when they did a stock split, it allowed more investors to get involved in the market, and the price came down. And I was like, oh my gosh, like my $1,000, like my one share, like it's now a lot less, and kind of got a bit scared of like, oh, like this is a whole new market for me. Like I've never experienced this, seeing price go down. But yeah, that was kind of my first experience in the market, and then after that, it was the Wall Street Bets, AMC, GameStop that I got involved in, and that was my second experience. So basically, it was kind of just interesting how different people enter the space. And then these new ETF filings, guys, exchange traded funds. I think a lot of people on this call have an idea what that is. But just keeping it simple, it's basically a basket of goods or services that people can invest in, and then see some form of decent return. ADA is Cardano, obviously LTC Litecoin, Dogecoin. And so we've seen approval with Bitcoin ETFs. And so now these altcoins, alternative coins, are looking to have their own as well. It just basically allows more large institutions to invest in those cryptos, which over time will increase price because there's more adoption. It's as simple as that. And then Gemini is a crypto exchange. Gemini is really popular in New York, actually, because I don't know if you guys know, but in New York, you can't use usual centralized exchanges. They have the strictest rules and regulations when it comes to crypto. And so all the people that I know in New York, they use Gemini. And obviously that's the financial capital of the world. So yeah, they're going public. They're going for an IPO, just like Circle did with USDC. And that's positive news for the more conservative investors, because it's going to be, able to invest through a public share rather than making the investment in the crypto itself.
Facts, guys. Yeah, definitely a lot of this that we're going through and talking about. Obviously, it's really positive news, right? Because it does bring a lot of attention to the marketplace, and that's really what you want to see. But it's only going to fuel up. I think in the summer, there are probably going to be a lot of things that are going to be coming out. But at the same time, all these things, there's a lot of things that need to happen for it to continue to be adoption. But as you start to see, ETF filings are happening all over the place. You have stable coins becoming, having successful IPOs, which is wild. You have, a lot of interesting things. You have Gemini, which is an exchange going public. So like we talked about the last call, literally we have banks are wanting to be exchanges and exchanges wanting to be kind of like banks and to be out there. And that's the biggest thing. Now, we're going to kind of go to the segment where I know a lot of individuals, or at least myself and John, we've been waiting for. I know last week, you guys gave us the idea, by the way. So shout out to you guys. You're like, hey, what did you like to, John Luke asked everybody if y'all wanted to like, and the dissection and the understanding of every single project. So put a 1 in the chat if you're ready to kind of go through projects, go through the understanding of them, the behind the scenes. John Luke's going to be talking more on like the project. I'll start with Chainlink and as well, but we'll also talk about price action as well and where could be opportunities that lie for your portfolio. Okay. Remember, none of these projects are like, you should only invest in these or you should invest in this. This is just an understanding that we're doing. Every single project that we're talking about is what we're looking in on part of what our really portfolio looks like. But it really comes down to noting it down, looking at it for yourself and making that decision for yourself as well. Okay, familia. So we're going to start and go ahead and talk about Chainlink. Now, put the word link in the chat. If you've heard of Chainlink, if you're in Powerhouse, you already know. You see Junior, you see us talk about Chainlink a lot. Chainlink is an amazing project, but not only is it just an amazing project, we're gonna help you guys understand and break down why Chainlink is an amazing project. Okay, so number one is that Chainlink is the biggest Oracle solution. It's most widely integrated Oracle network in the blockchain. It's wild because it used to be the number one for like Ethereum, but now it's the biggest one for all of crypto. Like every single blockchain is using Chainlink now, which is wild because it's really the only one doing what it's doing in literally the industry. And we're gonna break down kind of what that could mean. But reality is this: Chainlink, to make it very simple, it's processing of storage and data. right? So what Chainlink really does, it utilizes a network of decentralized nodes, which is, the nodes in the blockchain that integrate data from multiple services to prevent any single point of failure or manipulation. To make this very simple, guys, it helps certain blockchains use more help with the storage and the processing side of the blockchain as a whole. So as you guys know, processing and storage of data is the biggest thing in crypto because that's what crypto does. That's what blockchain does. It stores data. I mean, that's what it really is, right? Bitcoin, same thing, Ethereum. Without the maximization of storage of data, crypto cannot achieve its maximum capacity. So put a 5 in the chat, you would agree with that. You're like, yeah, like without the maximum capacity of storage of data and processing, because you're talking about online things, right? It's not really going to be functional to the maximum capacity. Chainlink is basically the middleman of this, is the provider of this so that blockchains can run successfully. And that's huge because, like we were all saying, processing and storage data is one of the biggest things. Well, Chainlink is really the only one doing this at the level it's doing it and at the capacity it's been able to do it for. That's why it went from only doing from Ethereum to now doing it in multiple blockchains. You can also see that it secures over 80 billion worth of value across various blockchain protocols, guys. Literally, it's the reason why 80 billions of dollars are being moved around, doing its thing. And that's just the start, guys. Like we all know, blockchain is something that's going to be in, or it's already in the trillions, but the processing of it is going to reach the trillions. And that's going to be very interesting for the marketplace as well. So another, key fact here is that it processes data through a system called off-chain reporting, which is OCR. Nodes communicate and reach consensus about data off-chain before submitting the final integration results on-chain, reducing transaction costs and increasing efficiency. Like I was saying, guys, it's the middleman. Think about it as a middleman, right? It wants something to be processed. They're the middleman, the middle company to do it. Boom, boom. They make the transaction very quickly and seamlessly, and they send it out. Again, very, very needed in the blockchain. Very important. Might be. Can you guys see me?
Yeah, we can hear you, bro.
Okay, my camera's not on, right?
No, it's not on.
Interesting. Okay, but anyways, yeah, so that's kind of what I was kind of breaking down. Jean-Luc, bro, I don't know if you want to add anything to that before we talk about price action.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like for everybody on this call, whether you're a 2 out of 10 in crypto knowledge and experience, or whether you're an 8 out of 10 in crypto knowledge and experience, literally all you need to know is that number one, it's the middleman for projects, and number two, it reduces transaction costs and it increases efficiency for blockchains within crypto. It's that simple. So, the other technical details, you don't have to be a top developer. We have a couple of people on this call actually who are developers, but you don't have to go in the nitty gritty and know all about it. Just know that it's something that's more efficient, and other blockchains now utilize it to reduce those transaction costs, which is why they want to use it. But yeah, feel free, bro.
Facts, 100%. Okay, so put a 1 in the chat. That made sense for you guys. You guys understand that. You guys are comprehending the understanding of this project. Now, what I want to go real quick before we go to the next project is really come on the charts now, right? And show you guys what price action looks like for Chainlink at the moment and where opportunity can lie. So this is a chart here. If you're new to crypto, you use TradingView. We look at all the cryptos, everything that could really exist, stocks, whatever. So we're looking at Chainlink right now on the Coinbase exchange pricing, right? And what we can see is this. The first thing we can see is that in the past, Chainlink has reached an all-time high of around $52, right? But we can also see that after that, it reached a low of $5. So right now, what we can say is this. Compared to what's going on in BTC, and I always like to compare this to give you guys a perspective of where altcoins are at, Bitcoin has created a higher high compared to the last run. Put a 5 in the chat, you can see that. You can see that, okay, Bitcoin has created a higher high. It's a higher price in the last run, but projects like Chainlink have not. So there's a process of how cryptos move, and we'll talk about that on later sessions, but I'm here to let you guys know that everything follows Bitcoin. Okay, so the opportunity of Chainlink is very bullish still. We have a lot of opportunity. And right now, in my opinion, we're at great price action. The first kind of area I was looking at Chainlink was here around $9, which that's kind of was my first entry. And then second entry was around $12. Right now, we're actually rejecting this area, right here. I believe that it could maybe go below here, which is below $12. But I'm going to be super honest. Any price literally in this area is amazing. I'm going to be honest. Because if Chainlink has the ability to minimum, I'm going to say minimum to not shoot you guys like too crazy, but minimum to reach all-time highs, right, which is $50. If you buy it at 15 compared to buying at 12, it's not too crazy of a difference. So when you're creating your portfolio, just letting you guys know, you don't have to snipe the market. A lot of people think you have to get the best price. Not necessarily. You just got to be a part of the lows to then benefit from the highs. That's basically it. So we're looking at higher time frame, right? So we're looking at the weekly. As you see, we're at a lower area right now. So anything really in this area is an amazing area to DCA, which is daily cost average, which is basically buying the project to potentially see upside on 50. Now, can it go above? Yes, it can. I see all-time highs, maybe wicking if it does what I think can do, 100. But do not hold all your crypto to this mark. I'm taking most of my profits at $50, okay? Because we want to basically buy when people are selling, and we want to sell when people are buying, and that's kind of the psychology that we really help understand, all right? So, hope that kind of gives some senses on it. Now, I'm going to pass it to Jean-Luc so we can talk about the next project here. But put some senses in the chat. If you understand Chainlink now, you understand the opportunity that lies below it. And there's a lot of opportunity here when it comes to this. This is one of my top holdings, transparently. It's not the top, but one of the top. So it's definitely exciting for what it's going to do and what's to come with it as well. So we'll continue.
Yeah, man. Link is a great project. And now we're going to touch on Ondo, something which a lot of you are already aware of. Some of you, this will be new. And so all it really is tokenization of real world assets. That's the industry that it's in. And there's three main products within Ondo. You have US Treasuries, US dollar yield, and US money markets. So basically, all it's doing is tokenizing the debt markets within the US. And so you can get an average APY of 5% for holding these products. And so 5%, yeah, it's kind of like, high yield savings. You can get 5%, maybe 4.5% traditionally. But the main real benefit of it is that you have exposure to the crypto market whilst having exposure to traditional US markets. Interestingly, it was founded in 2021 in New York. And so the reason why that's key is because out of anywhere in the world, they chose New York to actually have their headquarters and be regulated, which is interesting because the strictest regulation for crypto is in New York in America. So that shows, number one, a high level of confidence, but number two, that it gives comfortability to large institutions to get involved in a project like that, which is important to know. And so here's a key point, right? The reason why it's ultra low risk is because the government would have to default in order for you not to get that yield. So it's considered very safe. So I'm going to try break this down in the most succinct way. Basically, a lot of crypto projects out there have a function called staking. It's like dividends in stocks where you get extra tokens every month just for holding the project, okay? Just like you get extra Apple shares or Google shares at the end of the year just for holding the Apple share or the Google share. Now, in crypto, the APY in staking can be ridiculously high. Put a 10 in the chat if you was here in the 2021 bull run in crypto. And put a 5 if you wasn't. Put a 10 if you was here in 2021 bull run, and put a 5 if you wasn't. If you wasn't in 2021 bull run. Okay, cool. So we have kind of like 50-50. Now, I'm going to tell you guys personal story transparently. There was a project called Vespa, right? Maybe I should have said the name so that you guys don't go and buy it. But there was a project called Vespa. They were giving out, guys, like stupid percent APY. It was like 80+%, probably over 100 actually at one point. That was not sustainable yield. They, as a project, they could not provide that extra tokens of 100%, whatever it was, to investors because number one, they didn't have the liquidity, and number two, that cannot last for years on end. Unsustainable. It's like the bank saying we're going to give you 20% interest rates. Well, the bank doesn't even have 10% of the funds that they say they have. They can't give you 20% interest rate. They don't even have the money in the vaults. So in Ondo, why is it good? Because the government, because it's US debt, the government would have to default, meaning they cannot pay back their debt in order for you not to get that 5% APY. But the government, believe it or not, even though the debt's high, they are consistently paying off the debt and they're paying things off in the bond markets. So it's almost impossible that they're going to default on that. It's just not happened ever. So long story short, you getting that 5% yield is very, very probable. And that's why it's really good. Now, you have to KYC to use their products. That means know your customer. That means send in your passport and go through the normal procedure. And the reason why that's good is because, number one, it shows more security. And the second reason why they do it is because you're dealing with tokenizations of real world assets. This is not 100% crypto or 100% traditional. It's crypto, but with real world usage. So you want to have compliance within that. That's really key. Now, one of their products, OUSD, you have to have a minimum subscription of 100K. So you have to invest a minimum of 100K. So you can see that for one of the three products, it's mainly geared toward very, very large institutions. The real world assets industry, guys, is expected to be a $50 billion industry by the end of 2025. That's a massive industry. And the reason why is because people want the real life usage of crypto in the real world. The average person doesn't understand what Web3, what impact that can have on real life, which is why real world assets as an industry is a perfect balance between both. Now, they have institutional partners. Two of them is Morgan Stanley and BlackRock. BlackRock own buildings that you probably walking in right now, you don't even know it. So the fact that those are the partners behind the project is also massive. Couple of other things to note within this is that one of the positives is that there's a limited supply of 10 billion tokens. And that's good because anything with limited supply, if it's got utility, demand will rise over time, price hopefully will rise over time. And so one of the things that I didn't like necessarily with this is that around about 1.4 billion of that 10 billion is in circulating supply. So just think about that. $10 billion is the supply, but 1.4 is in circulating. That means that 8.6 billion tokens, are still locked up. What does that mean? Well, that means that there's more tokens to be extracted from the blockchain and be utilized, which means that that could be a catalyst for price decreasing or falling over time, right? And one of the other things as well is that 600 million of that 10 billion is in total value locked. It means it's locked away, which is also good because it shows that there's some reserve funds for if anything was to go wrong that can be utilized. So that's Ondo as a breakdown. I think it's a great project. One of the only challenges is that low circulating supply, but that's about it. How safe would this be? Well, bro, to be honest, like Ondo is one of the most let's say secure projects that's out there for the reasons that I mentioned, for the institutional partners it has, for the fact that it's using the US debt markets, for the fact that it's based in New York. I mean, if you're fairly new to crypto, bro, it's like one of the most sort of secure, lower risk investments, I would say. But yeah, let's go on to the next one. And I guess if we had time, we can kind of like go on the website and stuff like that. But we'll kind of just leave it there for now. Filecoin, guys. This is based in decentralized storage, and so Filecoin operates as a decentralized storage network where users can rent out their unused hard drive space in exchange for file tokens. Long story short, data and AI are two massive industries in crypto, especially in 2025. I'm going to put my camera here just to give you some perspective. 2020, 2021, what crypto projects were booming? That's really a question. I'm kind of curious for those of you who were here in 2021 times, like what industries, were booming back then in crypto? 2021 bull run, what industries do you think were really growing? Like everyone was talking about. I don't know if you guys remember. What industries are booming? There we go. Yep, exactly. Yep. NFTs, Web3, gaming. Who remembers Gala Games? You know, Jordan Morgan, Zach Hogan, Gala Games, right? I remember Zach Hogan speaking about Cardano NFTs. You know, that was a incredible financial investment from a friend of mine in the UK. So yeah, guys, those industries are booming back then, but are those the same industries that are going to boom this bull run? No, they're not the same industries. Things change. So now you want to have your eyes on data management. You want to have your eyes on AI. You want to have your eyes on derivatives. You want to have your eyes on real world assets. Data, AI, real world assets, derivatives. Those are the four industries you should keep your eyes on this time round. Why? Because ChatGPT. Why? Because of Grok. That is the talk of the town. It's those types of technologies. And so Filecoin, funnily enough, is actually being utilized within Lockheed Martin. Lockheed Martin is a government contractor for security. I was driving to, where was I going? Dallas to somewhere. No. I think I was in Arizona, and I saw Lockheed Martin's like building, their whole like campus thing. And so they are a US government contracting with security, and they utilize Filecoin right now, the military. So this is something that's a great project to consider and look into. Filecoin is competing with cloud storage providers like Amazon AWS and Google Cloud. Why? Because it's decentralized, not centralized. It's in competition with them. And decentralized means that there's no central authority, there's no intermediary. So centralized, that means it runs through the Federal Reserve in America. That means it's connected to the system we all utilize. Decentralized mean that there's no particular owner within that system. It's something that typically is faster. It's something that's cheaper, but it's also something that means you have 100% ownership. So if you make a mistake or send from wallet to wallet and make an error, that's completely on you. You know, there's no central backing for that. Yeah. Let's move on to the next one. Parcel. Okay, cool. So, hey, put a 10 in the chat if you're somebody who is a bit of a risk taker. Put a 10 if you're a risk taker, put a 5 if you're not. Put a 10 if you're like, hey, like, I don't mind taking a bit of risk with crypto, and put a 5 if you're like, bro, I'm really conservative. Like, I just want to be safe, you know? we have no, everybody in here is a degen. Everybody here is basically a degenerate. I'm joking. But yeah, that's fine. So basically, this is a project that you want to consider. Go big or go home. Say less. All right. Well, now, so Parcel. Parcel is a great project. You know, me and Gil had some fun with Parcel. Do you remember that, Gil? When we got the whole team invested in Parcel? Yeah, it's pretty lit. We basically moved the market. It was crazy. We was having a Parcel pump party. I know that sounds weird, but like it was a fun party. Basically, we had a bunch of people like invest in it. But anyway, it's a decentralized real estate platform. So yeah, I spoke about this at the event. And so a lot of people want to get involved in real estate, but it's very expensive. But it's tough to get the capital to do it. And so what Parcel does is it allows you to trade and invest in an actual market rather than a particular property. So let me give you an example. And I guess it's not the most like joyous example, but it's just something that happened. Basically in Miami, I don't know if you remember when they had the flooding, right? And a bunch of people evacuated Miami because like last year there was floods. I don't know if you guys remember that. I was on the news and everything. I had friends of mine like, yeah, man, like I'm leaving. Like, you know, I don't want to get in the flood, like my house, blah, blah, blah. And so what happened to the Miami market in real estate is it went down. The market was depreciating because obviously it's taken some homes and it's not been the best situation. However, if you're a trader, you were able to leverage trade the Miami market down. Just think about watching the news and think about something maybe positive happening and you go like, oh my gosh, that's happening in Greensboro, North Carolina. Damn, I didn't know that they just got new funding from the government to build infrastructure. Hold on a minute. Let me trade Greensboro, North Carolina. Let me actually go on there and trade that up. That's what you can do with Parcel, right? Because it tokenizes the market. It tokenizes a city. Like, I think that's very, very cool. There's also a staking function being released in 2025, which means that you'll get tokens on top of your tokens that you've invested in. Gil, do you reckon you can pull up the Parcel website? Because, or I could actually, if you want, let me know. But it's
Yeah, I got it. I'll pull it up.
You got it? All right, sick. Yeah, it's an incredible platform. And like I said, it gives you the ability to trade up and down. And so what they've done is they've combined single and multi-family homes within one basket, within Miami, within Dallas, within New York, within LA, whatever it is. And then that's how they've come up with the price of that market in general, which is very interesting. Also based in New York as well. So interesting project. And you saw the market cap there is like 28 billion, guys. So this is a low cap, right? You have low cap, mid cap, high cap. This is a low cap project, which means there's a lot of volatility, but there's a high potential ROI, return on investment. So as you can see here, there's different markets. Look at this. Austin, Brooklyn, Miami Beach, Chicago, Pittsburgh. This is real time. Like, it's an aggregate of the family homes in that area, and you can choose to trade it up or down, which is it's a great opportunity. And so what happens when Austin, hold on a minute. What happens when Tesla decides to take the headquarters away from Austin and move it somewhere else? What happens to the Austin real estate market or the market in general? Maybe it goes down. Well, why don't you trade it? That's what it gives you the opportunity to do. But feel free to chime in if there's anything else that you have. But very interesting project.
Yeah, facts. No, I mean, that's a very, very good project as well. If you want, John, you can continue, and then we can go back to them and
Go back. Yeah.
Go ahead.
True. I like that. Cool. And yeah, let's move on to the next project. We have a few. Jupiter. Many people know this. This is a DEX, decentralized exchange. So an exchange is a place that you can buy and sell crypto. And so it's Solana based. And as it says here, you know, the main function is being a swap exchange. And it also connects to other decentralized exchanges too, like Serum, Radium, Saber, which is obviously a useful utility. It's the second largest app on Solana, based upon gas fees. And in 2024, which was interesting, it literally outpaced Ethereum's Uniswap, which Uniswap, guys, is another exchange, but on the Ethereum blockchain instead of the Solana. And it had $1.2 billion in daily volume. So Jupiter on Solana literally outpaced in volume Ethereum's Uniswap, which is a big deal because Uniswap started way before Jupiter. Now, another thing to keep in mind is the distribution of tokens. And the reason why this is key is because we've all heard about people getting rugged, right? Put a 10 in the chat if you've heard of investors getting rugged. For those of you who don't know what rugged means, it basically means projects having influencers or people promote something often, and then everybody invests in that project, like Trump coin or whatever. And then the main holder of Trump coin says, right, I've got my money. The project's boomed 500% in 1 week. I'm taking all my money out. And when that one holder takes all their money out of a project, because they own 80% of the tokens, when they withdrew their money, the price falls to nothing. It goes down significantly and all the investors lose out. That's what a rug pull is. That is why we like to know the distribution of tokens within a project, because the more split it is between investors, the better. Now, one thing I like about Jupiter regarding this is that half of the tokens initially is going to the team and the other half is going to the community, which means the investors. 40% of that half is being given in airdrops. That means that just for utilizing the exchange, aka just for buying and selling cryptos on this Solana exchange, they're going to give you 4 rounds of airdrops, which means extra free tokens. That's like, okay, analogies are the best way to, you know, merge like the crypto experts with the beginners. So here's the analogy. Starbucks. You go to Starbucks, so often. You go to Starbucks like 2 times a week. Over the year in Starbucks, guys, you have spent $1,000 on Starbucks, because let's be real, a Starbucks now is maybe $10 every go, right? I mean, if you're gonna get a coffee, let's say $10. So you do $1,000 divided by 10, 100. Yeah. So you go to Starbucks 100 times in 1 year. That's very plausible. You spent $1,000 on Starbucks coffee, and at the end of 2025, Starbucks, the company, says, you know what? You know what, Mason, Jackie, Ivan? Because you spent 1,000 on Starbucks the past year, we're gonna give you, we're gonna give you 10 free Starbucks coffees next year in 2026. Starbucks is gonna airdrop you free coffees for next year because you spent 1,000 on them this year. That is basically what Jupiter is doing for its investors. They're literally giving you the free Starbucks. They're saying, hey, for using our exchange, you're gonna get 4 rounds of free tokens because you've been using it a lot. Now, the people who use it more get more tokens. The people who use it less get less tokens. I had a friend in 2022 times. Guys, his airdrop, because he was using the exchange, buying and selling so much, this guy got multiple 4 figures. They gave him like thousands. They're like, bro, you've transacted like 100K on our platform. We're giving you thousands back. So that's just an idea, and that's something that Jupiter does for its investors, which is good. Is there an indicator for that distribution in the project? Okay, cool. So there's 2 things at play, and maybe could have explained a little bit better. You have the distribution of tokens in terms of community, team, XYZ, but then you also have within that, you have the actual proportion that one holder has within that project. So from that 50% that goes to the community, the question is, how many investors are a part of that 50%? Is it 2 investors or is it 50,000 investors? Because if it's 2 investors, that could get rug pulled because that person takes the money out, 25% of the project's tokens are gone. But if there's 10,000 investors and 1 investor takes the money out, you're good. You know what I mean? So yeah, check the white paper. Go to the project's white paper, guys. That's where you're gonna have all these details. But hey, if you're advanced, you're gonna look at the white paper and do all of that stuff. You don't have to as a beginner, guys. We're giving you knowledge on a scale of like difficulty and challenge here. So just take the parts that you mainly understand and utilize it. But yes, the white paper is where you're gonna find these details if you want to get in the deep end. Okay, ICP. Yeah, so a lot of us know ICP. I'm not sure if this is the last one, just to be like time efficient. You know, maybe we need a part 2 next week. I'm not too sure. Let's have a look. Okay, cool. This is the last one. Perfect. So ICP, guys, I'm going to scheme over this. Basically, new way to run the internet, okay? It's a decentralized, it allows apps to run on a decentralized network. So I explained what decentralization is. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. It started out as a foundation in Switzerland. We already know, guys, multimillionaires, billionaires, they hold their money in Switzerland. Why? Because they get the best laws and regulations for protection of their funds. A lot of wealthy people store gold bars in Switzerland. That's just the way things operate. It's very hard to get sued or get expedited once you're in Switzerland. That's another reason. But long story short, it started off as a foundation, and that was mainly for tax purposes, right? Because as a foundation, there's a lot more tax write-offs than if you're a publicly listed company or a privately limited company. And so ICP has been around effectively since 2016. But the actual project launched in 2021. ICO means initial coin offering. It's the equivalent of an IPO in the stock market, initial public offering. We spoke about that with USDC Circle. ICO is just a coin offering, a public listing for a crypto project. They have the largest research and development team in crypto, guys, 270 plus employees. And so it's the only blockchain to allow AI to be fully decentralized and run on blockchain, which is huge. They also have the fastest speed and lowest transaction fees out of all prominent crypto projects. So it's very fast. There's exceptionally low fees, and it's in the AI industry. That's exactly what, like, that's catalyst for like a good project. Okay, that's very key to know. And so let me see something here. What else do we have to speak about? Amazing. Cool, 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 cool. Yeah, so this is also interesting, guys. Just one more thing I want to add, just one bit of source, is that, well, actually, two things, is that the goal of a corporation is to profit maximize. Okay. Any company, you want to maximize profit. The goal of a foundation, which is basically almost like a charity, is to fulfill a public benefit for the community. Two different things. Number one, profit maximize corporation, but the goal of a foundation or a charity basically is to fulfill a public benefit. What does that mean? That means to work on the tech. Number one priority is this project. It's not just make money, it's to work on the technology behind it. That's what I found interesting. The other thing to mention is that a lot of people don't know this, but there's actually a diminishing annual inflation rate of 10%. So let me break this down. I think, let me see. Is there a limited supply? No, it's unlimited supply. Yes, I thought so. So this is an unlimited supply project. That means that there's unlimited amount of tokens that people can buy and get. So that's not the best news. However, there is a diminishing inflation rate of 10% every single year, which means that some tokens are basically burned off or whatever function that they used as more is produced. So there's like a deflationary mechanism, even though there's an unlimited supply. I hope that makes sense. Ethereum has something like that cool too as well, which is called EIP 1559. And ICP has something similar, but it's not exactly the same. So great project, guys. I'm going to pause there because time-wise and everything, I'm going to go crazy. But Gil, I know there's a couple of things that you wanted to mention or dive in.
For sure, guys. Put some ones in the chat if you guys got some understanding of these projects. Honestly, I think John Luke did amazing going through them and breaking them down and bringing them together. So honestly, there's very high level. Now, what I want to do before ending today's call is actually going on the charts and kind of bringing everything together. So put a 7 in the chat if you want to now see the play. Okay, what do I do with this? Now I understand these projects. How can I actually really go there? The first thing I want to really talk about before I really go straight to the charts, I want to bring two projects together that we just talked about. The biggest thing right now is that there's a lot of partnerships going on. And one of the biggest partnerships that I've seen literally not too long in time is one that happened with JP Morgan, Chainlink, and Ondo. Literally, JP Morgan, Chainlink, and Ondo have created test cross-chain settlements of tokenized treasury funds. It's making it very simple to make it very straight, is that Chase, JP Morgan, their own blockchain that they already created, they've been creating it for years, they want to bring on Chainlink and Ondo to do exactly what we just told you. So to basically hire them in a way, right? Hey, let's partner together. And Chainlink, you can be the processing to help that. Ondo, you can be the middleman with the tokenization, and we can create a space that Chase benefits from at the highest level. Because remember, Chase has one of the biggest clients when it comes to investing, like one of the biggest clients, right? So they've come together to create literally a function that's going to really be insanely used, in my opinion, once it's completely kind of there. But it's already happening right now, which is wild. So really going back to Ondo, right? We already talked about Chainlink. Ondo is at a moment of great opportunity. To be honest, I sent this in our Powerhouse chat. We're already up like 10%. But as you guys can see, back in the end of last year, we saw a huge move on Ondo that some of us were in. I was in this market at this time with a 240% increase. But for a very long time, this project was just being consistent, was just being stagnant, was what we call consolidating. Right now, the market is doing exactly the same, right? These markets, mostly the lower cap, more mid cap, like more of the altcoins, they move like this, right? More time of consolidation, less time of bullishness. So I think right now, we literally have seen Ondo, if you guys know on the charts and learning trading, we see it fill this imbalance. It already filled this imbalance. And then what happened, it obviously created manipulation with that. And this mitigation has been filled. Literally, this was sent out at literally 78 cents. We're already at 83 cents, guys. I highly believe this is a great area of DCAing. Literally anything in this zone right here, I think is under $1 is great DCAing areas. And at minimum, guys, has a potential of reaching all-time highs and so on and so forth. Just reaching all-time highs is almost 200%, guys. It's almost a 3x. So this is a great opportunity right now. Like I said, the move is not slow. It's quick. This happened in a month, guys. Ondo made the move in 1 month, but it was consolidating for literally like 3 months. And that's exactly what's happening right now. And I think June, July, maybe June or maybe July is when we can see that very move up. All right. So that's Ondo, just in a quicker sense. Filecoin, I know John Luke talked about Filecoin and broke that down. Filecoin is something that if you look at the chart, you're like, oh my God, I think Filecoin can get to 250. I'm in. I'm all in. I'm going to get rich off of Filecoin. But I'm going to be honest with you guys, the market will not reach this area. A lot of the things that we talked about when it comes to like market supply, things like that is very important because Filecoin is something that you have to really look at the numbers like we went down in depth. Maybe we have more of a session going straight deep more with the numbers, but to make it very simple is this. Right now, there's a circulating supply of 675 million tokens, okay? The max it ever is going to have is 1.9, but how you get the price is this. It's market cap divided by circulating supply. That's how you get the price. So I want to give you guys like an idea. Right here on the market cap on CoinGecko, the max I got to was around 10 to $11 billion market cap. Okay, so you start to see different numbers because if you do 10 billion divided by 675 million, you actually get around $14.80. That's literally the area you get with the same amount. Think about this. This is why the numbers are so crucial. The same amount at the top. When it was $240, the only reason why it was $240 because there was less coins out there in circulation. Now there's way more. So I'm not saying it's a great project because guess what? There's still a lot of upside. It just going from where it's at now, $2.50 to $14, guys, is a 500x. That's $600 basically, of your money. Like $500, 5x, sorry, of your money. So think about it. 100 to 500, 1,000 to 5K, right? I'm not saying exactly it's going to go there, but I'm just letting you guys know these are great, great areas. This might be a longer hold, sorry. But right now we're in great areas. Price action, I think right now, if it doesn't reject from this, I mean, it's just going to keep going down. But this is great areas because where all crypto is at right now. There's higher level things that we can talk about on the chart maybe next week when it comes to like how to look at these things. But right now we're looking at gray areas, in my opinion, similar to Ondo. It came in this area, which is $2.34. My first TP will be maybe $8. My second one will be 14. And maybe my max, if it reaches all-time high market cap, it might be 20. Okay. So put a 2 in the chat if this is making sense with that. Now I'm going to go straight into Parcel. Parcel, like John talked about, great for real estate, great at what it does. It's a high potential, guys. It's a low cap coin. Okay. So it's higher risk, higher reward, right? So I wouldn't have all your portfolio in Parcel, but if you want to have part of your 10% portfolio, like we talked about before, you could have Parcel to that because it has utility and it's still a low cap coin. I like that. I like to invest in low cap coins that have utility still because the upside and the certainty of it is very key. But right now, we're literally at a great area zone. As you guys know, cool thing about trading is you do the same thing in crypto, just higher time frame. It came to this area. It could maybe come a little bit more here before it goes, right? So around 75 cents. But really, my first TP will be 50 cents. So you're looking at a move that could look around 500 to 600% increase. At a max, it's not, again, same reasons why it's not going to reach up here. I don't know how this project launched, but it might have been ICO or it might have just been a huge excitement at the beginning to bring price down. But the likelihood of it coming up here in this run is not going to happen. It's a newer project, guys, literally. So it still has a lot of potential. But I say for this run, you could see something up here. Because as we know, we got the buy before we got the mitigation, we got the area of supply and demand up here. So I think this can be a take profit area when it comes to Parcel. All right. And then we're going to end with Jupiter and then ICP, and then we'll kind of go from there. But, Jupiter is something that I know a lot of people in Parallels hear about. I know for a fact because Tony talks about it a lot. He's blessed a lot of people with airdrops, including myself as well. But Jupiter is an exchange. To make it very simple, it's this. It's a place where you can exchange your crypto. And it's very used because what are people doing on a day-to-day? They're exchanging cryptos. They're trying to get to the meme coins. They're trying to do this. They're trying to do that, right? And right now, Solana is booming realistically because of the meme world. I'm gonna be honest, and that's okay because there's money being put in. So Jupiter is one of the biggest one used to transfer. So it's being used actively, and that's why it's a very utility based project that's being used. It is new. Like the first time it really came out was in this time frame. So I believe it still hasn't reached the all-time highs it can do. And right now we're at a great price action of around 46 cents. I believe, in my opinion, it can come at least to 43 cents. So it still has movement to go here, right? But don't be scared to DCA in here. It's completely fine. That little cents is not gonna make a big difference in your portfolio, to be honest, because the upside at least is all-time highs and it could go higher, right? So a lot of my take profits are going to be here, but this is a new project, so I believe it could create new highs as things go by. And all we're going to do is follow Bitcoin and the other ones to then know kind of where the TP areas can be here, all right? And then we're going to finish this with ICP. I know we got some ICP fiends in Powerhouse. I like ICP, guys. I have it in my portfolio, but I want to give you guys this news flash similar to Filecoin, so that y'all don't get overly excited, okay? Because I know a lot of people are looking at this. Like, be honest. Put a 7 in the chat if you look at ICP and you're like, wow, it's going to get to the hundreds. I believe it can at least get to 300. It got to, I don't even know, 2K, I guess, whatever on this thing, right? But a lot of individuals don't understand the numbers. So again, this is going to make a move for sure. It's going to be like a minimum 10x or 8x, right? But I don't want to overshoot your hopes and dreams because of the numbers. Same thing kind of went with Filecoin. ICP, like Jean-Luc said, that's a max supply. Right now has a circulating supply of 534 million tokens, right? But the max market cap, meaning the max amount in that crypto, was around $16 billion. Okay, so it was around $16 billion in market cap at a max. So if you literally divide that by 534, I think I had it on my chart, we're looking around this price action actually, $12 to $14. So when ICP reaches to the max it's ever done money-wise, invested in, which is the most important thing, the max it really will kind of look like will be maybe around this area, okay? Which honestly is still amazing, okay? It's still amazing. I think maybe it could even go up here if it reaches higher, which it can, because the last run, AI was not a big thing. AI was not a big usage. So I think it could go higher, right, to the maximum capacity up here. But at minimum, it could reach $12 to $16 right now in this next run. And that's easily a 200x, right? It could go up here, in my opinion. In my opinion, it could go up here. But after this, guys, I'm not holding, right? I don't really believe this market can go to the hundreds. Again, it went there because of ICO prices, which is for another day. But just understand that you want to look at these markets. Right now, we're all looking at good, insight. Maybe I could see another imbalance here. So it could maybe go lower to like $3. Don't quote me on it, but it just has this price action right here that it came back to. Maybe it leaves it for later. Maybe, I don't know. But maybe it could come down here before we kind of really see an upside. But right now, any DCA price below $5, in my opinion, is amazing. With the upside of 15, maybe even to like 25, and then even 35. Okay, so put a 5 in the chat if all of this made sense. I know we kind of went kind of quick when the charts, but I did want to give you guys some price action. I'll send this in the Powerhouse crypto Telegram. So if you're a part of the exclusive community, I'll send it straight in there so you guys get access as well. But again, do your own research. Understand this. If you're watching this recording, make sure to look at price action to where it's at now, right? This is if it's a recorded session, it's probably from the past. It might be a different pricing. So make sure, guys, to plug in. We're going to be here next Saturday. Myself and Jean-Luc are going to come up with something really fire for everybody here to get taken to the next level. But I advise to invite somebody on these calls, right? Because at the end of the day, when people get information like this, it's mind-blowing. They can take advantage of it. They can see upside. And for you, do not miss calls like this. Do not miss the calls with Tony, with Fernando. And we got something very special coming for everybody in the exclusive of Powerhouse. Just be pending because the best is yet to come. Learning from the best of the best is coming very soon from where myself and Jean-Luc have been able to learn this. and much more to come, guys. So again, appreciate you guys for being on today's call. Let the Powerhouse chats know what you learned today. What was it? Maybe it was about a project. Maybe it was about price action. Maybe it was about the tokenomics, right? What was something that you learned today? Put it in the Powerhouse telegrams that you're in. And I'll see you guys on next Saturday. And John Luke, bro, again, appreciate you for running this call with me. It's just a start, brother. But let's see you guys very soon. Peace.